For the last couple of dowsing trips, I've been heading out towards Třebíč. There, we find a major node on the Templar line at the Třebíč Basilica, something that we've covered in another video, and I'll leave that video URL in the notes below. However, Třebíč Basilica is a beautiful building as well as a node on the Templar and a second Type 4 pair of lines that node at the same location within the Basilica. This last Saturday, we were very eager to revisit this beautiful ancient doorway and look at the symbolism beautifully carved into it. Quite honestly though, I have to admit that I told Eva at least one of the angelic figures seems to look like something from the Muppets, one of the two old guys sitting up in the theatre. I'm sure that's not deliberate. Anyway, Třebíč Basilica is a beautiful building, well worth visiting, and the energies can be felt even outside of the walls. And it actually has some Templar characteristics, even though we can find no evidence linking it with the Templars whatsoever. From there, the plan was to follow the female Murkosh Templar line further out to the west from Třebíč, and I found it again at the Chapel of the Sacred Heart in Sokolí. It's a beautiful little stone chapel that dates back to the 1930s, and it had replaced a wooden chapel that was built on that site, though how old that one was, I have no idea. Anyway, the Murkosh energies were very pleasant and very strong, just on the steps on the way up to this modern chapel. From there, I went to Nova Ves, and there, with a children's playground and two lakes, surprise, surprise, I found another female line, but it wasn't the Templar. I then followed this female line into Třebíč, where I found this church comprising two parts, one 11th century and the other part more modern. And when I returned there with Eva to investigate further, we discovered that in fact this church is placed on a node on the second line that comes out of Třebíč. In other words, the positive and the negative currents cross at the spot within this church. The church, as I said, is fairly modern, but at the back is a very small chapel that dates back to the 11th century. So this is quite an ancient site situated on a node. From there, we started to look for a cross that was mentioned at the church. But unfortunately, we took a wrong turn and we ended up being very attracted by this hilltop that we could see from the van. We stopped the van and we started to walk up towards this hilltop. It had a strange, forlorn atmosphere from a distance, and the presence of several trees which looked as if they'd been blasted by lightning gave it a very paganish, Pyrrhonic sort of feel that we wanted to investigate. And both of us, in our own way, felt the need to visit this site. It was as if we were taken there, as if we were guided there to find this spot. Once again, what we found was a node on this second Type 4 alignment that comes out of Třebíč. And for me, the energies were absolutely amazing, very pagan feeling. And this is a ruined castle. There's been no archaeological work done, but you can quite clearly see some of the ditch and walls are still there. And this castle was built on this node, and wherever sits is where the node actually is. And please note the tree that seems to have been hit by lightning, and there are actually three of them, one on the other side. And these other trees seem to have personalities. I mean, look at those two trees. The one on the right actually seemed to have a face, and that face looked like Perun. And the light and the sun and the sky seemed to add something to the atmosphere with the howling wind. And I said to Eva, I can hear a drumbeat behind the howling wind, and so could she. Not only that, but from time to time I could swear I could hear church bells ringing behind the wind. The wind really howled through this place, and the skies were amazing. So much so that we actually found a sheltered spot and we sat there for probably 45 minutes, meditating and just dreaming and thinking about what a wonderful place we had found. And this is a reconstruction plan of the castle itself, and the node would have been right in the building of the castle itself, according to our mapping of the site. It was a tremendous find, some place that we will have to definitely go back and revisit many times. We may even choose to do some kind of a small ritual there because the power of the place truly spoke to us. It resonated. And as Eva said, it refilled and recharged her batteries. And then when we got back to where I'd parked the van, you'll never guess what. Well, of course you will. We'd parked in the mail line that noded at the castle site. So once again, it just seemed as if we were drawn to this place, that the whole trip was about finding this place, and we were so pleased with ourselves and so energized by it, it really made the day. And although I have a lot more work to do filling in the gaps, these are the two lines coming out of Třebíč to the west, the Templar to the south and the other one to the north. And while I'm at it, this video is sponsored by my own merchandise. Grab your t-shirt, hoodie, Earth Magic Brunner at the link below. Please do subscribe. Thank you.